Jason Pinnock says he sees himself as an all-pro guy. But what does the film see Jason Pinnock as? Plus, the smartest football mind I know is going to help us break down something with Brock Purdy to tell us if it's real or if it's fake. Stick around. It's all coming up on today's Gold Standard Podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera alongside Johnny Dell. This is our film breakdown. Johnny, good to have you back.
It is great to be back. Had a couple days away last week, which is really good. Took the family camping, but we are back in and back ready to dive into everything. I've been on like a dog on a bone on this film, so it's fun. It's fun to get a new challenge. It's something to kind of go back and look at things in a different light.
So we've done Brock Purdy, we've done some of the wide receivers, we've done some of the running backs. And by the way, all these are up on the YouTube channel right now. They're all podcasts as well, but they're up on the YouTube channel in a separate film breakdown playlist. So you can see everything that we've done, all the positions, whenever you want them. Watch those, but just not now. This is our time. Today, we're doing safeties because Jason Pinnock told Matt Maiocco recently that he sees himself as an all-pro guy. And every Niner fan out there went like, what? Okay, wait a minute. So we're going to take a look at that. And Brett Coleman said something about Brock Purdy yesterday and something about the offense in general that really took me by surprise because it was seemingly the opposite of everything that I've heard about Brock Purdy and this offense. And so I wanted to ask you about that because you know way more about football than I do. And if there's anybody whose opinion I trust on film and film breakdown, it's definitely yours. So we're going to get to those two things today. And I saw you in the show yesterday dropping comments.
Hey, yeah, I always try and catch the show, man. And it was a good show with you and Levin. Myself and Levin, we don't always agree on everything, and it's a good thing. It's good for the fan base to hear every side of things and different perspectives. But jump in. I will say I do have a little bit of an issue with your snub of Brent Jones. I understand what you're saying. He wasn't the legend like Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, but there's a Counting Crow song. We can't forget the Counting Crow song, Mr. Jones. And I'm pretty sure that was about Brent Jones. It may not be, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. The other part is when you look at his career compared to the production that like Dwight Clark had. Dwight Clark is a 49ers legend. Now he had the most legendary moment in sports history. So I will gladly concede that. But Brent Jones had more accolades as far as career accolades than even Dwight Clark did. So that's just a little caveat I throw out there.
What is the most memorable thing Brent Jones ever did on a 49er field?
Fake like he fell down and then went and caught a touchdown pass.
That's your fastball? I rest my case. The prosecution rests. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
All right, let's dive into it. I like this comment from John G. If Levin Black is the wet blanket, Johnny Dell is the warm blanket. So there you go. I like that. Actually, have you seen this thing now? There's like a cooling blanket out. I've seen like advertisements for this thing. Somehow it stays cold all the time. It seems like it's got to be a scam.
It's got to be. I was actually approached by a company about possibly doing a sponsorship years ago that they do have like that cooling system that goes into your bed. And I said, well, what are your prices on these things? It was anybody gets 10% off. They're only $4,000. And I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, thanks for nothing. Okay, that was a weird left turn, but I took it and now I'm turning us back. Film breakdown, safeties. Jason Pinnock says he sees himself as an all-pro guy. I thought it was interesting, Johnny. Matt Maiocco referred to him as the likely week 1 starter. I'm sure Matt's not making that up. I'm sure he's talked to people, and maybe that's the vibe that he's heard. Now, look, a lot can happen between training camp and preseason, and who knows? I don't want to hold Matt Maiocco to that. But I thought it was interesting because there's so much up in the air at safety.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you have the uncertainty with Malik Mustapha and his surgery and his recovery time from the surgery. And when he was on the field, he was as good as anybody in the league. and really promising as a safety. When Ji'Ayir Brown was out there, there was a clear drop off. There was a reason why, like going into the Miami game, that our starting safeties in that game were Malik Mustapha and Talanoa Hufanga. Even with Hufanga dealing with the injuries and wearing a club, they felt better about him than they did Ji'Ayir Brown. And so we can look at things. I have it ready to go in order of Malik to Ji'Ayir Brown, so we can see the comparison from one to the other, and then how Pinnock then fits in between those guys, and why that probably is the feeling that Matt Maiocco has. Because right now I would agree with Maiocco that most likely you're going to see Jason Pinnock as a week 1 starter.
Okay, let's start it with Malik then. I was super excited to see that video of him running. He looked like he was running really fast. Now, he wasn't doing any cutting, but his I think it was his mom said that they're hoping that he could be ready to play in week 1 or by week 1. I don't know, but I want a reason to get excited about Malik Mustapha because I love him as a player.
Absolutely. And I just need to remember to actually hit the share screen button. I had it queued up on my end, and then I realized I forgot to hit the share screen. So with Malik Mustapha, I'm going to point out some of the reasons why there is so much room, even for optimism with the kid going forward, because he was so darn impressive last year. So I'm going to take us all the way back to preseason. This is the very first preseason game that of the year last year against the Titans. Malik Mustapha, he's right here. He was number 43 at this point, and he's in man coverage on the tight end. What they're going to do is they're going to run a little run action fake here, try and get Malik's eyes to be a little dirty, to come up, and then they're going to run the tight end on a little corner route. So they're going to try and get him. Sometimes you do this with a fullback, and it's called Bob, which is back on backer. So you get that dirty eyes man coverage. So we're going to see how Malik responds to this. That here comes a run fake, and he's real aggressive in his run fit, and his man just runs right by him, and you're going to see him turn and try and chase. And so this guy's wide open. See, Malik is running after there. A better throw by the quarterback, and that guy's able to stay in bounds, but he got lucky. The ball went out of bounds, and it's preseason. Okay. So why do I show that? Well, here's Malik Mustapha again. Now, this is regular season against the Cowboys. And Malik, I think this was his 2nd or 3rd game starting. And so when you have situations like that where a kid's coming in and he's playing early, they had started with number 30, I'm blanking on his name, but he was starting there at the beginning of the year with Ji'Ayir Brown. They didn't like some of the production throughout the first quarter of the year, and they inserted Malik into the lineup, and he kept his role. Well, if you're the Cowboys, you're going to go back and you're going to look at all the preseason tape. And you're going to say, okay, what did this kid do well? What were some vulnerabilities? So they're going to see this. They went and saw that play from preseason. So they're going to roll over, heavy set, just like we saw with the Titans. Heavy set here, and you can see Malik's calling out, I got this guy. That's my man. I'm in man coverage. And so the Cowboys are going to do exactly what the Titans did. They're going to run a run action fake, and they're going to run this tight end on a corner route. And so they went and saw this on film. They're trying to take advantage of him. He's calling it out. All right, I got this guy. I got it. Yep, I got it. And you're going to see, here's the run fake. Boom. Malik doesn't bite at all. Hugs into the hip of the tight end. Good eye discipline. And he's in great position to contest this throw, to break it up in the end zone and not allow a touchdown. We're going to see it from the end zone. This is phenomenal pass defense, just staying in the spot, staying in your leverage, and then finishing through the play. You're going to see him. He's signaling here. I got it. That's my guy. The eyes stay disciplined. He reads it well, never bites on the run fake, and then plays the ball really well. So that's one of those moments where when I saw that, I remembered back to the preseason, and I went, okay, the Cowboys saw that in preseason. They're trying to attack him, and he learned. That is a big growth moment for a rookie. You want to see these kids learn and grow and not commit the same mistakes over and over again. So when you see stuff like that, that's hugely encouraging.
That had to be so satisfying for Mustapha too, right? He knows why the Cowboys are running that play. He knows what happened in the preseason, and for him to see it, recognize it early, be on it, and not only be in position, He makes a hell of a play on the ball at the end because the ball's kind of in the receiver's hands, and he has to sort of fight at the end of it to knock it away. And he never gives up on the play. It's a touchdown saving play for Malik Mustapha. I remember when that happened. I remember watching it being like, oh, please let the 49ers have a defensive back on their roster that can actually make plays on the football. I was so pumped up when he made this play.
Yeah, and then when you see the backstory of it, that this was something that they were targeting him. This was in the game plan from something he had made a mistake on in his very first NFL experience. You go, man, I love that. I absolutely love that. That's huge arrow up. But one thing that always jumps out on the film, he's going to be right here, is the kid can close and tackle. That is something that just he's that extra gear. So here he is. They're going to run motion. We're in cover 0, so this is just an all-out blitz, and he's going to be in man coverage on the tight end. And they're trying to run a little rub action. They're coming with a route up and then something to the flat, and they're trying to run a rub on him to do this. So they're clearing out that side. They're again trying to go after Mustapha and watch his ability to go keep his head around the traffic and go make the tackle in space. That is stuff that you love to see. His tackling ability to arrive with violence pops up over and over again. We're going to see him here. This is the Buffalo game. They're going to run a little run off the right guard. Watch his ability to close and the violence that happens at the point of attack. You're going to see some hair go flying. So here he comes closing in.
Oh, man, he gets downhill fast, quick, and in a hurry, and with very, very bad intentions. And this defense, especially now with Dre Greenlaw gone, doesn't have a ton of thumpers, right? Like they don't have a lot of those physical guys. Even Fred, sometimes he tries to be, but he's a lighter linebacker. Sometimes he gets taken for a ride a little bit. So it's nice to see somebody, drop the hammer a little bit.
Well, to put it in perspective, Malik's weight is the same as Fred Warner's when he came out of college.
Wow. Jeez.
And then you add the range to that guy with this size and range. So this was against the Seahawks. Watch his ability to close on the ball from the deep safety spot to run this down and go make the interception. His ability to flip the hips and go attack the ball at his size is not normal. You got to remember this kid is like 220, 225. He's the size of Dre Greenlaw, his weight, and his ability to turn and go get to the ball is phenomenal. A lot of us will remember that game against the Seahawks and that pick.
Yeah, that was the interception. He was single high safety, came over the top, made the pick. And then I remember being stunned that he went out of bounds. It was like he couldn't turn his body and get it into gear and make the sharp enough turn because he had room to run. And he actually talked about that. He mentioned like, hey, when I do that next year, I've got to stay in bounds. Like he recognized it too. I'm shocked that that's the only interception he got all season.
Yeah. I mean, some of it was just that they had a lot of issues. I mean, everybody could throw underneath and then get yards against Devondre Campbell and then our caveat of different guys that were playing outside that were in and out of the lineup. It just wasn't good. And they could go after Ji'Ayir Brown too. So there were some issues. But here you're going to see him from a deep half safety. He's going to come down in a fill. And again, it's the physicality he brings to the point of attack. He's going to come down and fill, and there are just no yards after contact. So this running back, I mean, this kid's a load, and you just see it. Stops him dead even. Both coming downhill. I mean, it is as even as it gets. You do not allow a yard after contact. Just like you said, he comes downhill, bad intentions, and Walker is not a light running back. He is a load. And so just to be able to stand him up and stop him at the point of attack, that's something.
Now, a lot of this has been him as a tackler. Where I think people have worries about Mustapha is in coverage. Do you have the same worries that other people have?
I don't, just because when you're playing safety, it's really mostly about, do you have are you not in the wrong place? If you're in the wrong place, yeah, then things happen. Mm-hmm. But if not, I didn't see a lot of busts in coverage. I didn't see a lot of just being able to pick on him over and over again. There's some things that, can get cleaned up, but as we've seen, I think he can clean things up as we go. Now I just got to figure out where my other film slot was that I know I exported it.
Malik is one of the
Let's
guys
see.
that I think is one of the most exciting players for the 49ers in year two. We talk a lot about the rookies, about are they going to be any good and what are they going to do? Well, the sophomores, we think the rookie class was pretty solid. This year is going to kind of prove it a little bit. And he's one of those guys that I'm so excited to see. They've got a lot of second year guys that could be ready to make a jump.
Oh yeah, and you look at him, you look at Renardo Green,
Yep.
just the you look at Dominic Cooney, who was good but still had some things to work on. That man, the sky's the limit with these kids and what they can do. I like Tatum Bethune and what he brought. I think if he can nail down some of the coverage issues, he could be a really strong player going forward. So they have a strong rookie class, and Ricky Pearsall with what he was able to do. Man, if this class takes the jump that they should, quote, is the key word there, then they should be really phenomenal. I can't find the file that I had. I totally botched it on this one. And I just realized that I was about to export it again, but all my film is on an external hard drive and it's in the other room. So I do apologize for that. Yeah, this is embarrassing now, but I do have other stuff. So I'm pulling up here to Ji'Ayir Brown.
Let me give you a second here. It's funny because if the second year guys all make the jump that you're talking about, the narrative on the whole roster flips. Then it goes from, the Niners are an aging team that are, just trying to squeeze the last drops of talent from CMC and Bosa and Kittle and all that. Then it's like, holy crap, wait a minute. The 49ers are loaded with young guys again. Like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, and you're 100% right. The narrative completely flips. That it's not just this is a team that had to rebuild because they extended Purdy and their Super Bowl window is closed. Now it comes out to be that this is a team with a Super Bowl window that is wide open because you have so much young talent, an infusion of young talent that is able to come in and really step up. So yeah, okay, I got some clips here with Ji'Ayir Brown, and this one is mostly a mixed bag. So that's a lot of what I had. So what I had on Ji'Ayir Brown on the file that's missing right now, which is extremely frustrating. I had a couple more times of Malik Mustapha coming in and filling really hard. And then what I have is 3 big whiffs by Ji'Ayir Brown, where he's coming downhill and just whiffs. One of them was against the Bills. It was right before the half. They ended up getting like a 60-yard touchdown run, and he just comes down and is that's his hole, and he just whiffs, and the guy's gone. Another one was against the Buccaneers. It was a play he came down to fill, and again, almost exact same play, and he whiffs, and they get like a 20-yard run. Another one that the Bucs had run a crack toss, which was the infamous play that we struggled defending in 2023,
Constantly.
where they crack in and they toss outside. He just over pursues and they get a touchdown. Just overruns the play. Then the other clip that he made a decent tackle, but here there's just like some coverage issues. So the 49ers are running what's called it's a matching cover 4. So if the number 1 receiver comes out deep and outside, then the corner is going to convert to man, and Ji'Ayir Brown has to squat and be ready to help with anything over the middle. So he's not supposed to widen. The only time he's gonna go deep is if the number 1 comes inside and deep immediately. Then he's gonna pick him up. And this is just poor recognition, and he kind of leaves Fred Warner out to dry here. So they're going to have a little switch release, and this messes with him because he now is thinking this is the number 2 receiver, so I got to pick him up, and the one's going to go out. Well, they just stacked. They didn't get outside. He takes his eyes off of it too soon, and so he's getting ready to try and double Metcalf when really he needs to let Metcalf go to the corner who picks him up in man coverage and be ready to squat on the number 2 coming inside. He doesn't. He drifts too far deep, and so Campbell's out here expecting to have somebody help over the middle. Or no, that's not Campbell. That's D. Winters, I believe. And Fred Warner is moving to the 3 receiver side where he's supposed to. That's his role in a quarters. And so you have nobody helping over the middle of the field. You get a receivers wide open, and this is supposed to be where Ji'Ayir Brown comes down. But he's just drifting too far, recognizes it too late, and then by the time it's caught up, it's a 25-yard gain. And that's just a mental error in coverage. And we saw a number of those from Ji'Ayir Brown over the course of the season. But it's all in all a mixed bag. You have some plays that are good, some plays that are not so good. Here, he's going to sift through the traffic and go make the tackle. That's not an easy tackle. So you see moments where he can do this, where he can come down and he can fill. You can put him at the line of scrimmage, and he's supposed to be filling in between the tight end and the tackle. And that's where he first attacks his role. He's going to settle down into it. And as this running back bounces, he's going to then have the athleticism to change and go run it down. You go, okay, and go make the tackle. I like it. He has those moments, but then there's just moments where he's hesitant. Like here, this is goal line. He's got to fill in the same spot. He needs to fill aggressively, but he's just slow, doesn't bring enough force, and now the running back's able to get 3 yards after contact and get to goal in inches. So you see these kind of things. You see some struggling with angles. You see struggling with some open field tackling at times. You see coverage issues at times. It's nothing concrete, but it's not enough to say this kid has earned the trust as a starting safety going forward.
And it's interesting that you showed both coverage issues and also just flat out physical tackling issues, because I know my hope with Ji'Ayir Brown was, well, he looked good as a rookie, and now Robert Saleh's here. Nick Sorensen was over his skis last year, and hopefully Ji'Ayir Brown can look closer to the player he did as a rookie now that Saleh's here. But some of the things that you're showing me are like, hey, it doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. If you can't make a tackle, you can't make a tackle.
100%. I mean, when it comes down to it, the defensive coordinator can put you in the best position possible. But if you can't come up and fill in that C gap, which is where in our scheme those safeties have to fill, which is between the tackle and the tight end, then we have issues. And now his life was made a little bit harder because we couldn't set a hard edge, and those edges got extended out, so they're having to tackle in space a little bit more. But still, you've got to be able to come and make those tackles, because Malik Mustapha didn't have near the kind of missed tackles and costly missed tackles that Ji'Ayir Brown did. He came down and tackled well. So now we're going to jump to Jason Pinnock. So we've seen Ji'Ayir Brown was very much a mixed bag all last year. Malik Mustapha was arrow up almost the entire year. So they bring in Jason Pinnock, who started all last year for the Giants, had a decent year, only had one interception, or didn't have an interception last year. He's only had one career interception, so he's not really a ball hawk. And you can see teams kind of wanting to go after him in coverage sometimes. So here he's going to be in a deep half safety. So the Giants are in cover 2, and they're going to go after this corner in a classic cover 2 beating concept. They're going to bring a little route to the flat and a corner route to put this corner in a vertical stretch. So this is a tough task on him, but I would like to see him be able to cover this guy a little bit better, because they're going to bring this in motion, and he's got a guy running at him. He's going to try and get to inside leverage because he doesn't have any help to the inside. He's trying not to give up to the inside of the field. You have help to the sideline, but gives it up a little bit too much, and then isn't able to go and close and make the play on the ball as quickly as you want. Now that's Joe Flacco throwing the ball. So put this in perspective. So has some coverage concerns that I've seen from him. Here he is deep middle. I do like this, though. They're going to come with what's called a Yankee concept. So they're going to come with a deep or a high crosser and then a deep post route. And they're trying to put him in a vertical stretch. So they're trying to get him to either bail out on the deep post and throw the high crosser, or they're trying to get him to squat on the high crosser and throw the deep post. They run this on play action. We run this play all the time. And so they're going to run the run fake, and Joe Flacco's going to turn, and he's going to see that he kind of squats, and he thinks, okay, I think I got this shot for the deep post. And so Flacco's going to let it loose. I love his recovery here, though. He's able to turn and run with it and he cuts the receiver off to where Flacco's trying to lead him away from the corner. So great recovery there. Like that he understood what was coming and went and took away the deep ball. So, there's plays there that there are some concerns, but there are some positive plays there. Kind of a mixed bag for coverage with him. Here he is from a deep safety. He's going to fill. As he comes down, he's kind of working his way down in the box. So you go, okay, let's watch him fill here and go make a nice tackle. Attacks the near hip. I like it. Just makes a solid tackle. Fills in that area. You're going to see it again from the end zone angle right here. Comes in, tracks the near hip, bam, attacks it. That's textbook tackle right there. You're going to see him as a split safety high here. He's going to come down. You're going to see him fill again. Sees the run, boom, goes, attacks the near hip, solid tackle in space. Love that. You're going to see again end zone. You're going to be able to see him come down from this angle.
Boom.
Just a textbook tackle. Love it.
Those are the plays
nice to see there.
Saleh loves about him. You could tell. Like, that's going to get Robert Saleh excited.
Yeah, and then we're going to see him here again. He has a good understanding of lanes, angles. You're going to see him disappear from the screen for a second and then come back. But he has a really nice fill here from the deep spot as he's coming down. There he is. Bam. So just a quick note about this one. Watch the way he tracks and cuts the receiver off. So he's going to break down here inside, force the runner outside, and then attack the near hip. So I love the technique here. He breaks down, then walls him off, forces the runner into only one direction to go. Doesn't allow the ball carrier into a two-way go. So I like that.
That was
you're going to see him.
Not to cut you off. Sorry. For the audio listeners, he's, first of all, if you go out of the screen on the all 11, you're out of the picture. And he's on the other side of the field, outside the opposite hash. And it's a screen pass. And he comes all the way down from the top of the screen, all the way across the field, and cuts off the runner like you're talking about to make that tackle.
I mean, it's his angles overwhelmingly are good. I mean, there's every safety is going to take a bad angle from time to time. But when we look at the aggregate of all the film I watched, generally takes a lot of good angles, solid tackler. You can see why they liked him. You're going to see him here. Now, this should be a tackle. This is a wicked spin move by this running back. But so I don't really blame him here. This is one of those 1 in 100 plays. You're going to get a guy and they're going to spin on you. But he does everything that he's supposed to do. Wrap up a little bit better, but man, that's a wicked spin move. I think anybody's going to look at that and say, okay, we'll tip our cap to the guy on that one. So you see his ability to fill in the run, and then here I picked this play because he's here at the top. They're going to do the crack toss. They're going to run this as that crack toss that we talked about earlier. Ji'Ayir Brown over pursued this. We had issues with this in 2023. Watch his ability to run this down, sift through, and go make the tackle. Oh, I love it. Oh, he's excited too. He knew it. We're going to see him here. There he is, 27. Watch the way he does this all, slow it down to half speed, recognize the crack toss, and works through all this traffic. Man, it makes a solid tackle. Like, when you see that stuff, you go, okay, I can see why there's buzz that he would be the week 1 starter.
That is something that the 49ers desperately need too. They got run over last year, especially in key situations. Especially the thing I liked about that play was it was in the red zone, because the Niners defense was awful in the red zone. It just felt like anybody could run through them whenever they wanted to. And I think if the Niners, they'll probably never say this publicly, but I think in their heart of hearts, they think if we got guys that are good against the run, we'll take it. And if they struggle a little bit against the pass, we'll live with it to a certain extent, but they want guys that can stop the run first and foremost.
Absolutely. I mean, football in the end really comes down to, can you stop the run and run the football? If you can do those things, you will win a whole lot of games. That's the way football still is. Here, you're going to see him. They're going to run a little wide receiver screen. And this is, if they can get the wide receiver up on the corner, then it's one-on-one with the receiver to this safety on Pinnock. And so again, watch his ability to track it and go close and make the tackle. It's a 2-yard gain. You're going to live with that. He just tracks and makes tackles really well. And then you're going to see him here up at the top. This is going to be another wide receiver, another little screen pass. They're going to run a block out here, and then they're going to flow out. So again, he's going to be the guy that has to come up and make this play. And so there's a little screen. They got blocks. They're liking this. They got running back one-on-one with Pinnock, the safety. They're happy about life right now. And he comes up, reads it, makes a tackle. Is able to change his fill lane too. So like that a lot.
Was that Bijan Robinson because he's playing Atlanta, or was that Algier? Because it's one-on-one, and if he misses the tackle, that's a touchdown. Like that is,
yeah.
If it were the 49ers, the exact strategy is great. We've got Christian McCaffrey one-on-one with the safety and nothing but green grass in between. So that was a really impressive tackle from Pinnock.
Yeah, it wasn't Bijan. Bijan is number 7 here in the backfield. They're using him to gather all of this attention. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get all this attention into him because they're running this little possible run fake. It's like an RPO, and get it out there. But still, I mean, if you're any team. Imagine if we said that was Jordan Mason on a safety. You're going, okay, I'm happy with life. And then he comes here. What the 49ers are going to ask him to do here in the box and come fill close to the line of scrimmage, able to get up in here and go fill and make the tackles. So we see all the things with him that the 49ers are going to ask and what they want from their safeties. First and foremost, you have to be able to tackle. You have to be able to tackle in space. You have to be able to keep those big plays from happening. Your safety, that is literally the name of your position, is the safety valve, right? The last line of defense, and you have to be able to make tackles because we just saw too many big game-changing runs that happened from missed tackles from Ji'Ayir Brown last year.
The 49ers' whole game plan is getting our ball carriers in space against defensive backs because we don't think defensive backs can tackle. Like they have not made a secret of that. And so on the flip side, they need their defensive backs to be able to do that and make those plays consistently. And especially with Ji'Ayir Brown, like you brought up, there were a lot of times it felt like where, man, he had shots at guys and just did not make the play for whatever reason. And I think, look, when Robert Saleh got in there, he looked at the film from last year. He saw what we saw. We have got to stop this. We have got to stop the run game. We have got to make our tackles. And they got guys out that didn't do it. And they're bringing in a lot of guys that they think are going to be able to do exactly that.
100%. And so it'll be an interesting training camp battle. I mean, I'm not out on Ji'Ayir Brown completely. It was not up to the standard of this defense and what Robert Saleh and team has said this is our standard. And so he had a good rookie year. It was not as strong last year. So I think this is the most important year of his career. This is the year that's going to, year 3 is the big one. He's got to prove, are you a starting caliber safety or are you just a guy? So it's big for him.
I think it was Bill Parcells that basically said, show me something in your rookie year that makes me want to keep you around. In your second year, show me you can take the next step. And if you're in your third year, if you still haven't done it, show me something that, saves your job, essentially. Well, Ji'Ayir Brown showed us something in his rookie year. Last year was dicey. This is it for you, Ji'Ayir. And hopefully he can, because, again, when he came in as a rookie, like, he made plays on the ball. He made game-changing turnovers. I was super excited. And last year, we just did not get that same guy. So hopefully this year it will be better. Okay. Is that everything you want to tell us about the safeties?
Yes.
Good, because I've been dying to get into this Brock Purdy thing. For anybody that didn't see it yesterday, Brett Coleman of the Bootleg podcast did a team preview. They're doing 32 teams in 32 days. They did the Niners, and he said Brock Purdy isn't a system quarterback. He is the 49ers system. And one of the things that he gave Brock a lot of credit for was operating this offense with a lot of motion. And Brett said quarterbacks, a lot of veteran quarterbacks don't like that much motion because it changes the picture on them and it sort of makes it harder for them to read things as they go, which is the opposite of what I had heard about motion, Johnny. I had heard that quarterbacks like it because it basically gets the defense to show their cards, and they have to basically show what they're doing, what their plan is, and that makes it easier for the quarterback to decipher the picture. So you know more about football than I do. What is the truth?
So I guess, this whole thing will be a caveat. If you guys haven't checked out their show yesterday with Levin, go check it out. It's important context for this as well. And Rob played the clip from Brett there. I think for me, and I've been dying to dive into this too. So when we talk about what makes life easier for quarterbacks and is a system quarterback friendly, we hear that a lot about Kyle Shanahan's system. It's a very quarterback friendly system. What do we mean by all of those things? I think one thing you say, when you have a strong run game, when you have a lot of play action, that makes life easier for the quarterback because you're going to give a lot more space to throw into in bigger windows, and those things make life easier for your quarterback. You don't ask them to do this every single play. Well, when you start doing less play action like the 49ers did last year, well, now you're not as quarterback friendly. The other side is that there is going to be a difference, especially from veteran quarterbacks that played in the NFL, of who likes what. And it comes down to how was that guy's style of play. For some guys who were all about, I need every last detail of everything, but maybe, there was things there, like JT O'Sullivan was that kind of guy. He loved every last detail, wanted very detailed passing games. Got that under Mike Martz when he was there, who he's credited with teaching him the pro game. You're going to want as much of that. Give me as much information as I can. Give me as many options as I can. Kurt Warner would be very similar. There are some guys that just don't operate that way. It's almost paralysis by analysis. They're going to sit there and you try and throw all that at me, I'm just going to lock up. It's just too much data to absorb, because these are things that happen in 2 to 3 seconds. And Kyle will always say this. He goes, it's really easy for us to diagnose these things when we got the clicker in our hand, or the remote for the film, and you're able to run it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and slow it down like I've done with this film. It's really easy it can be easier. I won't say really easy, but easier to point all this stuff out and say, okay, where they're doing this to give Brock this, they're doing this to give Brock that. These things happen in a 4 to 5 second window. This is not Brock is sitting there thinking through everything. He has to just see it and react, just like somebody who's trained on something like in the military. If they see a certain situation, they have to react to it instantly. There's no thinking about it. It's just you react because it's so ingrained in what you've done. And there's so much prep work that goes with that. And so where I had some, I guess, issue with talking about, well, Kyle only brings in quarterbacks who can do these things and can break down film, is I think it can come across as almost oversimplifying or simplifying too much the incredible amount of detail and complexity to NFL schemes, and not even NFL, some college programs. So, and I'm going to get into this in one of these clips. The Seahawks with McDaniel there in Seattle, when they run one coverage, most of us would call it quarters coverage. We would say it's cover 4. Well, Seattle doesn't call it that, and it's actually a coverage that comes from Nick Saban. It's called cover 7, which is a form of cover 4, but you have cover 4 and then you have cover 7, which is different. And within cover 7, you have 10 different checks, and this is what Saban was even doing at Alabama. So you have like stubby, you have stuff, you have Cora, you have cut, you have clip, you have all these checks that they can do within cover 7, just cover 7. I want to say Saban has like 12 different ways to run cover 7. And so then you have cover 3, you have cover 3 Mabel, you have trips checks, you have all these checks for cover 3. Like when you start adding on all these variations, these defenses get incredibly complex. And so when we're asking Brock Purdy to see things and then understand a subtle movement from a safety, for example, and understand, okay, based upon my film study, we're at this position on the field. This is what they tend to run if we see this movement, and then be able to react to it so quickly is things that very, very few quarterbacks actually can do. Like if you're, and especially if you're a team that doesn't run this stuff all the time. So I just wanted to preface everything with that we have to understand that the complexity of this game at this level and what Brock is being asked to understand is incredibly high. And this isn't just the same stuff that they were always doing. So we're running a play here that has been a Kyle Shanahan staple for a little while. So this is red zone. You're going to see Seahawks 2 high safeties. and they're clearing up. They have a trips check here, so they're clearing up how they're handling this bunch formation. That's what Seattle's doing. Now we normally run this play. We're gonna have George Kittle on a 10-yard out route. We're gonna have Debo on an in route, and then normally you have a receiver split way out here, way out past the numbers, and he's gonna run what's called an under route. But we're going to throw in motion now. This isn't normal. This is something that changed over the years because of Brock Purdy being here. And so now you're going to take Jauan Jennings and you're going to run him in, and then you're going to run him out, and you're going to launch him from here. Well, you have to get to the same timing as way out here, as this is under route. So you're going to run him on a little out and back in. We call it a choice out China, is what Kyle calls it. So now you're adding this variation because we didn't used to do this, but now Brock can handle this motion. And so we're going to be able to do that. So we add this motion in here, and it's going to give us some important data. So first, you're going to see Brock's taking a look at the defense. He's going to bring Juwan in motion. What he's looking for is, are these guys traveling or are they bumping? That's going to tell me man or zone. So he's going to say, okay, they're bumping, so that's zone. So I know that now. And now he's going to then look at the safety. The safety widened as it came closer to the snap. We're going to get into the weeds on this, but this is really important to understand the processing that he's going to go through here. So he knows, okay, the safety's widening, so I got cover 2. So he's going to have zone, and then a Mike that's going to be a 3 receiver hook. So this Mike's going to shade towards the 3 receiver side. So he says, okay, number 1 in this progression is Debo on this little in route. That's number 1. Number 2 is going to be Jauan Jennings on this choice out China. So you have 1, 2, and then number 3 in the progression is George Kittle. So George is number 3. So based upon that little subtle movement that we saw, Brock Purdy has already decided, I'm going straight to number 3. This is what we call streamlining the process, because he says this Mike is going to come over in the 3 receiver hook, and he's going to take away my number 1. And then you got a hook guy that's going to come down and sit on my number 2. So that's taken away. Now I have the potential with this corner playing in what's called a cloud or in the flat. He's the guy that can make my life really bad for George Kittle on this route. So Brock is going to immediately take the snap, and he's going to pump to Jauan Jennings on this little route to move this corner. And now he's got George Kittle on an out with the safety. And so this is the amount of processing that's happening in this short period of time from just seeing the bump, the movement, and you're going to see Brock. Watch how quickly, boom, here comes the pump fake. There's the pump. It's going to grab the corner. You're seeing the Mike sit on Debo. You have this guy's going to come down and be able to sit on Jauan Jennings breaking in. And so he's pumping to move that corner because he's got George on the out. And so there it is. There's the pump fake, 1 hitch, ball's out. Perfect location, way out there. Hits the number 3 in the progression, streamlines it the whole way. And again, let's watch this in real time to understand how quickly that processing happens. So from the motion, sees the bump, sees the safety widen. Here we go. All right, I'm going to pump fake and then move a guy and go hit George. And so when we say, okay, is that the system or is that Brock Purdy? That's good play design, but that is incredible execution of that from Brock, streamlining the process, moving the only defender who can cover it to get to his number 3, and then an incredible ball location.
And when you say like, oh, he sees the safety widen before the snap, it's not like the safety moves 5 yards. He takes like 2 steps, but it's just that subtle little difference. So those are the things that Brock is noticing, and he's eliminating all of this either pre-snap or immediately after the snap. And yeah, the system, it's a good system, right? Because George Kittle was able to get open against that defense. But if Brock doesn't do all those other gymnastics, it's not going to be a touchdown. And he did, and it was.
Yeah. I mean, these are the plays I love breaking down because there's so many layers to it. And I just go, this is such high level play. So here we are. This is 4th quarter against the Seahawks. It's 23-17. So there's 11 minutes left in the game. This is a crucial point in this game. I just wanted to point out where this is. So we're going to see Brock's execution on this. Again, this is such high level execution. So we're going to start out. You're going to see 2 high safeties. Okay, split safeties, but they're inside. They're not widened real far. So this could be quarters, it could be cover 6, it could be cover 4, it could be cover 7. There's a lot of different things this can be. The Seahawks do a lot of different defenses from this presentation. So we're going to bring Juszczyk in motion. We see everybody bump over, okay, including the safety. So everybody bumps over. That tells us this is probably 2-zone. And this is, again, goes back to the film study that Brock's going to have. Okay, so he's got what's called a Hooters concept, or pull shallow concept. So he's going to run a little pull basic route, which is a 10 to 12 yard in route, a little pull underneath route. It's going to sit underneath. You're trying to get a vertical stretch here. So if we're in 2-zone, we got a deep half safety. We've got a cloud corner. We've got a hook player. Let me do these in blue. We got a mic, a hook, cloud, and a deep half safety. And on the other side, we're running very similar. We're going to run a little seam route. We're going to run Juwan Jennings on choice out China. And then we're going to bring Juszczyk back around, and he's going to run out to the flat. So what Brock knows is, okay, change of strength right there. They bumped. Now we're going to bring Juszczyk back over. This is going to cause the mic to bump back over. And he's a 3-receiver hook, so he's going to shade to that 3-receiver side. So he knows I'm gonna take this. He's going to have to grab the seam route. So he's out. Okay. So the only guy that can really mess up this play is this hook player on the other side. We're putting him in a vertical stretch. So he sees that right from the get-go, but is not just seeing it. Watch the eye manipulation he's going to have here. So he's going to send Juszczyk back motion. Everybody bumps back. You will see this really well from the end zone. He's going to look off this hook player. These are the kinds of things we would see Aaron Rodgers do. We see Matt Stafford do, where, again, from the end zone, we'll really be able to see what sets this play up. And it's instantaneous, back foot, balls out. So here's the bump, here's the movement. Now we're going to move everybody back across. Okay, look at this look off. He's looking completely over. That's going to move this hook player because he wants him to grab here, and he's going to have Ayuk coming across the middle. So again, I'm going to try and I'll slow this down to pause at the right point because he holds this until his windup. So he's going to clearly look over. You can see up until his windup, he's looking off in this direction. He's going to throw this ball right down the middle. And so you see the look off to hold this hook guy. He knows this guy's going to stay over here. And you see that if he doesn't do this, by the time the ball gets there, this window is not that big.
And that's interesting because, people say like, oh, he's throwing to open guys. And it's like, yeah, he is throwing to open guys. But the reason the guy is open is because Brock is the one manipulating the defense with his eyes to create the window. And I think that's what Brett's point was, is that some quarterbacks use play action a lot of the times to do that, to create the windows. And sometimes it's on the quarterback to manipulate the defense with a shoulder shake or a pump fake or his eyes or something like that. And that obviously puts more responsibility on the quarterback. And that is more of a quote unquote high level quarterback play. And the fact that Brock was doing that last year, I think is part of the reason why Brett Coleman was saying like, yeah, he's not a system quarterback. He is partly the system because he was doing stuff that you just showed.
Yeah, and when you start doing less play action, you have to move guys around in zone defense more. And so how do you move them? Well, it's got to be on your quarterback understanding who do I need to move. It's not just do I look somebody off, but understanding exactly who I need to look off, what role he's going to be in. And these guys have shifted around and knowing this guy's going to be in this role and this is who I'm looking off. And so, again, watching his head on this, you see how long it holds and into the windup, and his head doesn't turn until the ball's out. That's as close to a no-look pass as it gets, other than actually, seeing Matt Stafford where that head, he's learned to throw, across his body that way. But that's what he does.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say that. Like Stafford and Mahomes can just do it without ever actually having to turn their head. Brock turns his head at the last possible second after his windup has already started.
Yeah, it's the stuff that you see from those guys that are just have that crazy high cerebral part of the game. And you just don't see this from everybody. So I pulled this play from the Dolphins because Tua is somebody that's oftentimes compared to Brock. Like that's often a lot of times the comparison there of a guy that is maybe a little limited in his arm strength, is in a very friendly offense that has all these shifts and motions. The only team that had more shifts and motions than the 49ers was the Dolphins. But when I watch the Dolphins tape, I don't see nearly as much shift and motions when they're doing just straight back drop back passing. It's very much a lot of their shifts and motions have to do with the run game, is moving somebody just a little bit to get a better block for your tight end. It's getting a guy on the move, challenging eye discipline for the run game. There's so much misdirection with their shifts and motions in the run game. It makes it seem like that everybody's doing what the 49ers do. The 49ers, when you look at their passing game shifts and motions, are at a higher rate than anybody else in the league. That's just how it is. So when we say, well, every kind of team kind of does this stuff, no, I don't think there's another team in the league that is putting the kind of load on their quarterback with these shifts and motions in the passing game as the 49ers are. So that's part to Brett's point. Like, when you watch everybody else do this, you don't see this at the rate as the 49ers do in the passing game. But here, the Dolphins, they're going to face the same coverage from the 49ers that the Brock Purdy just saw. So we're going to be in cover 2, and this is Tampa. So, and the Dolphins are running the exact same play. So they're going to run a little pull route here, a pull basic. So they're running the exact same play that we are. And Tua is going to try and move some of the defense. But watch how it's like this pre-packaged, I'm going to turn my head one way, and then I'm going to stare down my receiver. And this is not a disparaging thing on Tua. Tua is a very good quarterback, and he's a quarterback who can do a lot of things really well cerebrally. But just as a comparison to what you see from Brock Purdy, because everybody says, well, a lot of NFL quarterbacks can do this. And I say, no, they can't. So, we're going to see this. Tua is going to first look off to the left. He's trying to look off Fred Warner, but then he's going to turn, and boom, he's staring down D Winters right here. And so he doesn't move him at all. And he's going to get gun shy on this. He wants to hit Tyreek on that pull basic, but he gets gun shy because D Winters is right in the throwing lane, and he stares it down, and then he panics. He tries to find out, where do I go from here? And he dirt balls it. This is the exact same play against the exact same coverage. And just watch the head motion. I'll run it in slow motion so we can watch it and see the difference between the execution on the exact same play against the same coverage between Brock Purdy and Tua Tagovailoa. This is not the same execution. You see that head is stared straight at him, and it's not the same.
He even tried to go back and look him off a second time at the end, but it was still the same thing. It was a quick look, and then right back to the receiver that he really wanted to throw to. It was very almost mechanical. Like, he was doing it because it was part of the play, but it didn't have nearly the effect that it did when Brock did it.
Exactly. So that's where I wanted to show that, is say, okay, we talk about this from Brock Purdy. What does the rest of the league look like? And what is a team that runs the same offense? And what is a team that does a lot of the same things the 49ers do? And what is a quarterback that people often compare to Brock Purdy? And you go, Brock is just at a different level. And it's fine to say that. Like, I want to almost give people license. Like, it's okay to say that about Brock Purdy. Like, he operates from the neck up at a different level than 99, 95 or 96% of the other quarterbacks in the league. And that is his superpower. Steve Young has talked about that, right? Like, his ability to see the game and process. It is not normal. It is a superpower. Like, this is the thing that there's a handful of people in the world at any one time that are able to see things and process like this. So here we're going to get to the last one. I know these plays are getting into the weeds, but I think it's necessary to understand what Brock is going through. So here we're going to send Eric Saubert out in motion. And what Brock is doing, notice he's staring at the safety. So this is also understanding, what are you looking for? Not just, this is going to give me some information, but what am I looking for? What he wants to see is, as Eric Saubert goes out past the numbers, does this safety widen? Because if this safety widens, it's going to tell him it's a 2-deep coverage. If the safety doesn't, it's going to tell him it's either quarters or single or 3-deep is what it's going to be. So he's watching that safety. Safety doesn't widen. Okay, he signals somebody else. You see another player widen, and these two guys bump out. Safety stays put on the hash. That tells him most likely quarters coverage. And this is going to go back to his film study. So he probably already knows that this is quarters coverage right here. And then he's going to go and he's going to verify. Okay, is this zone? That's a corner sitting over Saubert. So that tells me that's zone. Now, the caveat is this is cover 7, which is man matching cover 4. So what this means is that Eric Saubert's going to run just a fade. And what the Seahawks are doing is they're running what's called mod coverage out here. So it's man, outside, and deep. That's why it's called mod. So if this route goes deep and outside, then this is going to convert to man coverage. So if that happens, this safety is going to squat. And he's going to sit here and help on anything because you're going to have a hook player go to the flat. And so the safety has to protect inside. So he's going to sit inside. And so what we're going to do is we're going to run use check on a little fade here, and that's going to do the same thing. Trigger man outside and deep on the outside. And that means that this safety is going to squat. And so what we're running is we're going to have Ayuk first on what's called a lookie route. So he's running a little lookie here. This is usually number one. Well, not usually. It's always a number one. And then we're running what's called an arches concept. So we're going to run we run this a little bit deeper than normal because again we're trying to trigger this coverage, and then he's going to run what's called an eliminator route, and then we have the running back on a little choice route inside, and then so this arches concept goes 1 to 2. So Brock's got to go 1, 1, 2. Does that make sense? So George is really third in the progression here. So if you know that a safety is going to squat on this side, pre-snap, Ayuk's taken away. So I know Ayuk's taken away. So that's going to put me on 1 to 2 on my arches. I know the safety is going to be squatting here, but he's going to take outside leverage because he has to be able to protect outside, and he's got an inside 3-hook Mike. So he's going to be outside leverage. So I got to beat that guy, and I don't love the matchup of this running back on their linebacker with a Mike in there. So what is he going to do? He's going to say, okay, if I can move this Mike out of the way, then I can hit George Kittle immediately. So I'm going to get to my number 3 if I can move the Mike. All of this from this information that he's got. We're sitting here taking 5 minutes to talk about this. Brock thinks about this in 3 seconds. And we're going to see it here at the snap. Watch Brock immediately turn, boom, pulls the Mike, works him, then flips right back to it. One hitch, give George the room, because again, safety's playing outside leverage. Mike's moved way out, middle of the field's open. Deliver a strike for a touchdown, 23-17 game.
Beautiful. You love to see it. And the fact that he was able to just cross things off the list right off the bat, that's what's so impressive. And it's crazy to me, like, to see these high level plays. And then sometimes Brock has these interceptions, especially at the end of games, where I'm like, how are both of those things in there? It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that comes down to when he starts having to press, when he starts forcing the issue, when he's not letting this part work, and then you're getting, a lot of pressure. It happens. But when you see him able to operate this is as good as any quarterback in the league. I mean, any quarterback in the league. The high level stuff here, because this is all about faking this guy out. I mean, just boom. He never intended to make that throw, but that was the only throw he could make against this coverage. Like, that's the only throw he could make, and that's the only way he could make that throw. And that's all from this little motion at a crucial point in the game, just from that. Like, again, we run it real time so you can see it's 4 seconds.
And I think people assume just because he's not going to the line of scrimmage like Peyton Manning used to do and giving hand signals and directing this guy over here and calling audibles like Jordan Love sometimes does, they assume that he's not doing this, like these mental gymnastics, right? They assume he's just going to the line, doing the snap count, and running the play as designed by Kyle Shanahan. And you're clearly explained that is not the case at all.
Yeah. And that's why I really wanted to get in this, because I remembered these 3 plays. Like, when y'all were talking yesterday, I was immediately thinking about these 3 plays because I remembered them from the season, of like going through it and diving into the details, and like, okay, there was a lot of detail there, and it's just not normal. Like, when I watch every team that we play against, and I see all these quarterbacks, I see Geno and stuff. Like, Geno doesn't go through this stuff at the consistency that Brock does, and he doesn't have like it doesn't get to this level. That's not a disparaging thing on Geno. That's like Brock is just at a different level mentally than so many quarterbacks around the league. I don't see Jordan Love doing this. Like when I remember when we played him in the playoffs, I was almost surprised by the simplicity of their passing game, that they went with Jordan Love against us. Like he was not given full field reads. He wasn't given two different coverage answers. It was very much like, here's, you work this side of the field and that's it. And it's like you either get what you're going to get or you check down. Like that was it. And so like watching that, the passing games were very different of what they were asking their quarterbacks to do. Now they were asking Jordan Love to make some, bigger arm throws down the field, but the mental gymnastics that Brock Purdy was being asked of and Jordan Love were very different.
Interesting, because I think Love got a lot of credit. I remember there was one play on NFL Live where he was audibled at the line. I think it was against the Cowboys, and he threw a touchdown. People were like, "This is high level stuff," and so then people see that and they're like, they just assume that he's doing that all the time, doing it on every play, and that other guys that aren't doing it or that don't necessarily have that film breakdown aren't doing it to that level. And I think sometimes things can get a little bit skewed. I like this question from Filthy Casual, who says, how are the Ravens and Vikings able to confuse Brock Purdy so much? I think if I'm going to take a stab at answering this, and then you could give the actual answer that's probably a lot smarter than what I'm going to say, a big part of the calculations that Brock is doing, like you have said, is sort of based on, well, he knows from film that it's probably this or that. I think that when it comes to the Vikings and Brian Flores, when it comes to oh, geez, I can't think of the Browns defensive coordinator that always drives Kyle crazy.
Schwartz.
Yes, Jim Schwartz. They're less predictable when it comes to that stuff. And so it's harder to make those sort of predictions ahead of time. That's just how I am guessing. And then combined with the fact that at least in Flores' case, he blitzes the hell out of you with like a zillion people, and it can get confusing.
Well, and the other thing, we were facing the Vikings very early in the year, and Brian Flores had almost come out with a whole new bag of tricks. You watch that Vikings defense throughout the year as teams got more and more film on them, that they weren't getting quite as confused. Now, the caveat with that, when I'll say the Ravens, if we look back onto that Ravens game, I don't think that was as much a situation of Brock getting confused. You look at like their yards per attempt, he was at like 9.8 yards per attempt. It was the highest yards per attempt that anybody had on the Ravens up to that point. You're talking about, it was a couple bad bounces of the ball. You had the one that went off George Kittle's hands and the other one off of the safety that is blitzing, or the corners that are blitzing, and you get 2 picks that way. That really changes the narrative of the game, right? Now he did force one throw. I don't know if he got as much confused as he thought he could just force it in there. He thought the corner was going to, or the safety was going to widen a little bit more. He should just check down, and he said that. That's where Brock can get himself in trouble. Is he thinks he can fit in that itty bitty tiny window, and a lot of times he does. But that you're going to get that with aggressive quarterbacks that have that aggressive mindset. So when I look at the Ravens game, I don't go, okay, he was just confused the whole time. I mean, he was still moving guys around. He was still doing all this stuff that we see. It's just, it gets shrouded in, well, the turnovers. And then we look at the Vikings, that defense, when they do the things that they do, it not only makes things harder for your quarterback, it makes things harder for your offensive line to know who's coming, who's not. They get a lot more unblocked blitzers. And when you still are able to have 6 guys or 7 guys in coverage and have unblocked guys as your quarterback, that makes life insanely hard for your quarterback. The best way to combat all that is a strong running game. And we weren't able to run against them. Like that was not something we could do well in that game. We also had there's route adjustments that, as we saw through the playbook, that makes it harder for your receivers because those parts are moving and they've got to diagnose all this too to hit their route adjustments. And like we had one, George Kittle, if he hits his route adjustment, we had Brandon Ayuk, who's probably gone for a 75-yard touchdown pass, but he doesn't. And you can see Brock's expecting Ayuk to stay on the move. He's long gone, beat his guy in man coverage. He's got the entire side of the field open, and George runs this route a little weird, and Ayuk isn't sure, and he kind of sits down, and Brock's sitting there, and he goes to throw, and Ayuk's not where he thought he was going to be. And it's like one of those, you go, okay, if we hit that play, the narrative on that Vikings game is completely different. So it can be 1 or 2 or 3 plays that can change those things, and it's not all on your quarterback. Now, Brock did not have. He had a couple bad picks in there. I would like to see him, you know, may be a little more decisive, but they move a ton of pieces around. I mean, it's a lot when you're asking them to do it, and when you haven't seen these iterations with these players who are going into these different spots that the Vikings were running.
Oh, the nightmares. Basically, anytime we play a team in purple, I don't like what happens. From the Super Bowl to Vikings, it's just not ideal for the 49ers. But that is a hell of an explanation. Thank you very much for that. Hope everybody enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video, subscribe to the Gold Standard 49ers Podcast Network, and for more film breakdowns, you can subscribe to Johnny Dell's Football Academy on YouTube as well. You cannot consume, there's more football on that page than you could possibly ever hope to consume in a lifetime. So if you want to educate yourself, I highly recommend going and checking it out. I do it all the time. Thank you, Johnny. This is tremendous. I don't know what we're going to do next week. If you have a suggestion and you want to see us break something down, I say us. Johnny does all the work. But leave it in your comment. Leave a comment. Leave it in your 5-star review on Apple Pods. Tell us what you want us to break down. And again, if you want to see the other things we've done so far, there's a separate playlist on YouTube. You can go and check it out. It's all up there for you. Thank you, as always, Johnny. I'm humbled by your knowledge.
Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words. Just appreciate the support with everybody in the channel and stuff that, when everybody supports these channels, it helps make this stuff happen. There's a lot of film watching that goes into it. I was up till, I think it was about 11:30 last night watching film, got up at 5 this morning, started watching some more film just to make sure I had all the clips ready to go. So I appreciate it with everybody, super chats and everything.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next week.